At the highly anticipated wedding being streamed live across the internet, Kenny backed out. He wanted to follow his adopted sister, who left the country heartbroken. In front of everyone, I walked up to someone, "You." Before I could finish, he slipped a ring onto my finger, "I do." Later, when his adopted sister became his real sister, Kenny returned home dejectedly and wanted to reschedule the wedding with me. But a rich guy responded in an interview with a smile, "Yeah, I was planning to crash the wedding." The night before the wedding, I accidentally found Kenny and his sister's chat log. Kenny was pleading with her, "Vivian, please don't leave. I only love you. Marrying Stella is just a business deal. Don't you hate Stella? I'll walk out on the wedding tomorrow. You know, our wedding will be live-streamed worldwide, and Stella will be humiliated tomorrow. Vivian, you're the only one in my heart." He sent message after message, desperately declaring his loyalty to Vivian. Reading those words, I almost laughed out loud. When we were planning the wedding, Kenny mentioned it would be live-streamed. Our parents thought he was being ridiculous, utterly against it. But Kenny looked at me with love and said, "I want everyone to see my wedding with Stella, for the world to know that marrying Stella is my greatest luck." Though his open confession made me slightly uncomfortable, I didn't think too much of it. After all, even if it wasn't live-streamed, the wedding would be in the news the next day. So I agreed. The families weren't thrilled but went along with it since I was okay. Thinking back, Kenny had planned all along to use me to prove his loyalty to Vivian. He knew how humiliating it would be for me if he left me at the altar. I lowered my gaze, reading Vivian's recent message. "I'm at the airport, leaving tonight. But Kenny never considers consequences, so he'll surely leave tomorrow. I can't convince him otherwise. You should prepare yourself." I wanted to ask why she was warning me, but she had already blocked me. Lost in thought, there was a gentle knock on the door. It was Kenny. He had flowers and looked eager. I turned off the screen, looked up. "Aren't we not supposed to see each other before the wedding? Why are you here?" "I missed you." Kenny blushed, "So, I came by." Great acting. If my phone wasn't still warm in my hand, I'd forget this man was planning to leave me at the altar tomorrow, for another woman. Looking at him, I said softly, "Kenny, you still have a chance to back out. We can cancel this wedding 1,000 times before tomorrow. He can openly pursue Vivian." Kenny hesitated for a few seconds, reaching to touch my hair. "Why say that? Marrying you is my luckiest moment. Why would I regret it?" I dodged his touch, nodding, "Just go." Uncomfortable with my coldness, he shoved the flowers at me and started to speak. But I closed the door. Unbothered, he left after a few quick words. As soon as he left, I kicked the flowers out. Checking Vivian's messages, I unblocked an account. "Coming tomorrow?" A quick reply came. "Nope." I was about to type back when messages popped up one after another. "No way I'm watching you marry another guy. If I go, it'd be to crash the wedding. Are you trying to see if I'd ruin your wedding?" "Chill, I wouldn't do that." Seeing the last message, I sighed and replied, "Okay." He sent a string of ellipses and then nothing. Throwing my phone aside, I hit the pillow hard. Kenny was determined to leave me for Vivian. If he's against it, the wedding can't be cancelled. And Leo wouldn't come. Have to play it by ear. Every step before the wedding, Kenny cooperated fully. Like last night's messages were just a dream. But just before the vows, he looked at me apologetically. "Sorry, I can't lie to my heart. I can't be without Vivian." As everyone watched, he released my hand. Facing the guests and cameras, he said, "Sorry, I can't marry someone I don't love. The wedding's off." The room erupted as Kenny left for a flight abroad. Guests looked at me with pity or scorn, talking about Kenny's foolishness. Online, people were outraged, slamming his irresponsibility. Why pull this stunt? Can't he just call it off quietly? Had countless chances to back out before, why embarrass Stella like that? Not a fan of Stella, but I feel for her. I'd hate Kenny forever, wouldn't forgive him ever. What did Stella do wrong to deserve this on her wedding day? Can someone run over this jerk outside, please? Some tried getting me off stage to end the fiasco. But I pulled my hand back, scanning the room, locking eyes somewhere. Leo. He came. Before thinking, I took a deep breath and headed toward him. Stopping in front of him, I blurted, "You?" He stood up immediately. "I do." He slid a dazzling ring on my finger, far brighter than Kenny's. My parents hurried over, trying to diffuse with humor. "Leo, maybe Stella was just messing around, don't take it to heart." They turned to me slightly annoyed. "Stella, enough, come with us now." I was just about to speak. Leo wrapped his arm around my waist and leaned down to my ear. "I've lowered my moral standards as much as possible. If you change your mind, I'll die for you." I smiled slightly, took his hand, and led him onto the stage. Luckily, the MC was super professional. After a brief shock, he quickly regained his composure and continued with the ceremony. He acted naturally, and the guests played along. No one could tell the original groom had run off. It was almost like this wedding was meant for me and Leo all along. While changing into our reception outfits, I checked my phone. Turns out, the wedding had already gone viral. My name, Leo's, and Kenny's were all over the trending list. Real-time updates were full of people criticizing Kenny's supposedly romantic actions. If he loved her so much, then why didn't he straighten things out with his family and marry the woman he loved? Even if his family disagreed, couldn't he just stay loyal to his beloved? Agreeing to marry someone only to back out at the wedding, it's a mess. Who knows what the other woman thinks? If they planned this together, I can only wish them a lifetime together. Stella's so bold, switching grooms right there, and Leo's way more handsome than Kenny. The wedding was so natural it made me forget Kenny even existed. Who would have thought? Leo whispering sweet nothings to Stella, "It's really heartwarming." I was scrolling through my phone when Leo walked back in. That's when I fully noticed how he was dressed. Totally groom ready. Thinking about it, I teased, "Didn't you say last night you weren't coming?" Leo adjusted his tie self-assuredly. "I really didn't want to. But I figured you should have another shot at choosing. Even if you don't pick me, at least you'll see the difference between me and Kenny. Plus, when you suddenly asked if I was coming, it meant you didn't want the wedding to finish smoothly." Basically, he planned to crash the wedding from the start. But it turned out, he didn't need to. Kenny had already bailed. I waved my ring at him with a smile. "And what about this?" Leo paused, adjusted his tie again, deciding how to explain. Seeing that, I threw in more fuel. "This style needs a 3-month pre-order, doesn't it?" Leo pursed his lips, and after a while, admitted defeat. "I was ready to crash the wedding from the beginning, okay?" He sounded so confident, yet his nervous hands kept fiddling with the tie. Leo and I had actually dated before. But then we had a messy breakup, and my family just happened to want me to marry Kenny. In a fit, I told him, "We're done. I'm going home for an arranged marriage." The next day, Leo vanished. He didn't show up until a few days before the wedding. First, he apologized, then explained why he disappeared. He said he wanted to make up with me immediately but was pulled away by a family power struggle. Right after explaining, Kenny showed up to talk to me. He got all worked up and mouthy. I got mad and blocked him. My lips curved into a small smile. "And you insisted last night you weren't coming." Leo gave up defending himself, almost proudly. "My mouth is more silent than a parade rest duck, you didn't know?" I couldn't hold it in, turning away under the guise of fixing my makeup to chuckle. In the mirror, Leo just stared at me without blinking. After a long while, I gave in. "Why are you staring?" Leo pointed to his tie, looking innocent. "It's tangled." I shot him an annoyed look but went over to help with the tie. He'd tied it way too tight, and it didn't help that my nails made it tricky, taking forever to undo. When I finally managed, my knees were wobbly. Just as I stumbled a bit, Leo pulled me into his chest and quickly pecked my lips. The photographer responsible for streaming chimed in right on time. "Now let's take a look at the bride and groom." When he saw our current position, he froze and stuttered. "How about let's take a look at the venue's layout instead?" I wanted to hide and just buried my face in Leo's chest in embarrassment. Leo cleared his throat, silently pulled the door shut, leaving viewers in the live stream chat protesting to the photographer. Don't leave us hanging. What can't our VIP eyes witness? I'm begging you, sneak a peek. Don't waste time on this decor, film it all day and I still can't afford a wedding here. Show us something fun instead. Right? Hurry, don't worry about being discovered, just say you're acting on your own. If you don't, I'll send a van full of people to rough you up. Under the pressure from netizens, the photographer quickly shut down the live stream. The evening after the wedding, Leo and I were off on our honeymoon. Not for any big reason, just to dodge our folks and Kenny's questions. Kenny's parents weren't happy with my groom switcheroo. Kenny's mom even called under the guise of checking on our travel plans to criticize. Stella, I know Kenny messed up the wedding, but you couldn't have done something as inappropriate as swapping grooms on the spot. Rumor has it that you and Leo have been in touch for a while, and Kenny only left to make way for you two. I barely held back laughter. Just because I'm traveling doesn't mean I'm cut off from the world. These so-called rumors were their doing. They worried Kenny's runaway would hurt his reputation and future dating life. So they decided to paint a picture of Kenny letting go for love, putting the blame on me. The surrounding was so quiet, my chuckle reached Kenny's mom. She seemed about to get angry but held back, speaking softly, Stella, everyone makes mistakes in their youth. Kenny did, and so did you. It's not too late, let's set things right. I'll convince Kenny to come back. I didn't bother arguing and directly screenshotted Kenny's social media page for her. 3. After Kenny ditched the wedding, he started posting updates about his supposedly happy life abroad with Vivian. But every single post somehow never showed Vivian's face. After I loaded all these screenshots, I told Kenny's mom, I'm on the right path now, so goodbye. I hung up without waiting for her response. Right then, Leo walked out of the bathroom. My eyes darted to his loosely tied towel. He caught my gaze and flashed a grin, about to say something. But then he glanced at my still-lit phone screen, and his smile faltered. I quickly explained, this is for Kenny's mom, just to let her know I'm done with their family mess. Leo turned his back to me, radiating those leave me alone vibes. I didn't really want to know, he muttered. Yeah, right. Knowing how stubborn Leo is, I poked his arm gently. Seriously, she wanted me to reconcile with Kenny, so I sent the screenshots to get them off my back. Leo replied, still frustrated, honestly, you don't need to explain. I'm not that petty. I teased him, pretending to get up, cool, then you won't mind if I go check out some hotties on the beach, right? I'm totally going. Before I could stand all the way, Leo, who claimed not to be petty, pulled me into his arms, grumbling, you know how I am, can't you just humor me a little? Do I have to comfort myself? I laughed, oh yeah? How do you comfort yourself? Show me. Leo raised an eyebrow, are you sure? I nodded. Of course, I was curious about how Mr. Stubborn would handle this. All right then, Leo said, suddenly picking me up. Wait, this isn't what I expected. The next morning, loud notifications woke me up. I groggily opened my eyes, then sprang out of bed. OMG. Leo leaned in to see and was just as shocked. I clicked the notification, realizing we were trending now. There was a video of a conversation between two people. Kenny was getting all worked up, I've already run away from the wedding. Why don't you get how I feel? Vivian seemed frustrated, brushing back her hair without a word. Despite the language barrier, their argument was drawing attention from passerby. Kenny, oblivious to the stares, held Vivian's wrist, saying, I gave up everything for you, Vivian. I truly love you. Vivian finally broke her silence, eyes red, we're siblings, Kenny, can't you see that? Kenny grew even more upset, you're just adopted. Why does that matter? The video ended abruptly. The comments section exploded with reactions. Wow, woken up by drama from across the ocean. 10 years ago, this could have been scandalously exciting, but now it's just unsettling, especially thinking about the bride left behind at the altar. So, if Kenny liked Vivian all along, why agree to marry Stella? Something's off. If they're just adopted siblings, why did Vivian react that way? I refreshed the page, hoping for new comments, but the trending topic and video were gone. I got messages from friends asking if it was real, and fans were cursing Kenny, showing me sympathy. Leo chuckled, "Your fans sure know how to insult." I rolled my eyes at him. I scrolled through gossip chats, hearing rumors about Vivian's cunning ways. I frowned, recalling a message Vivian once sent me. She didn't want anything more with Kenny. It was Kenny chasing her halfway around the world. I switched to my alternate account to chat with Vivian, trying to compose a message in her defense. Just as I was about to hit send, Kenny called. I glanced at Leo. He answered it for me, putting it on speaker. Kenny's hoarse voice came through, "Stella, where are you? Can we meet?" Leo frowned, ready to mock Kenny, but I signaled him to hold back. I declined, "Not really a good time, I'm on my honeymoon with Leo." Kenny paused, seeming to ignore what I said. "My dad had a sudden stroke last night, in bad shape. If possible, I'd like you to come see him with me." I declined again, "No, really. This is a family matter. Being there would only be awkward for everyone." Kenny ignored my refusals, staying silent for a moment before sighing, "Stella, I've been thoughtless. Can we just pretend nothing happened and redo the wedding?" I silently called him crazy and hung up on him. I nestled back into Leo's arms, scrolling through gossip groups for info. After a bit, Leo asked, "So, when are we planning to go back?" I yawned and shifted to a cozy position, not going back anytime soon. After switching grooms and refusing to deal with Kenny's mess, his family's pretty much banned my name. Returning now might just give his old man a heart attack. Leo squeezed my hand, sounding a bit down, but Kenny mentioned wanting to redo the wedding. I shot him a look. Bigamy is illegal. I'd be nuts to go back to a mess like that. Especially when it's such a big one. Leo couldn't help but smile. "For real? Then we definitely gotta go back." I raised an eyebrow, about to ask, but Leo was already jumping out of bed, packing his stuff. I had a feeling he was up to something. Sure enough, after I stared at him for 20 minutes, Leo finally cracked. He glanced at me cautiously. "I just want to go back and see him make a fool of himself." Knowing him well, watching a joke was just an excuse. He wanted me to reject Kenny in person and then get a good laugh at him. But I didn't call him out. I was kinda curious to see the drama myself. Leo and I booked the next flight back. We didn't even make it home to drop off our bags. Headed straight to the hospital where Kenny's dad was. He wasn't awake yet. Kenny sat dejectedly on the ground outside, with his mom pointing at him and cursing. As we got out of the elevator, Kenny's mom was in the middle of it. "How did I end up with such a useless son like you? You let a good daughter-in-law like Stella go, and for some love child? Publicly running away at your wedding to chase her abroad? Aren't you ashamed enough yet?" Leo and I exchanged looks, stepping back to hide behind the wall frustrated. Kenny punched the wall next to him. "How's this my fault? It was Dad's messing around." Before he could finish, his mom burst into tears. "What did I do to deserve this? Being in the dark for years and even doting on the illegitimate child he brought back, and you. Such a disappointment." She started hitting Kenny. Kenny was beyond annoyed, raising his voice. "I already promised to remarry Stella and forget Vivian. What more do you want?" Kenny's mom chuckled bitterly. "I thought you just lost your mind for a moment when I pleaded with her. But now it's all out in the open. Do you still have the face to ask her for another wedding? You're just like your father." She glanced toward the hospital room with a smirk. "Well, this is his karma." Kenny's mom's words hit him hard, making him even more frustrated. He got up to find some peace in the stairwell. Leo and I were shocked, exchanging glances. So, Kenny's dad ended up like this because he found out about Kenny and Vivian. Being the only one who knew the truth about Vivian, he couldn't handle the shock and nearly didn't make it. Kenny's mom had been piecing things together after seeing her son's return in such a state. After a long investigation, she finally came to this conclusion. Once she figured it out, she told Kenny directly. Of course, Kenny didn't believe it. He kept pestering Vivian for the truth. Vivian couldn't hide it anymore, so she came clean. She'd found out right before my wedding with Kenny, actually. After spilling everything, she cut all ties with her family, blocking all contact, and reportedly flew to another country. Hearing Kenny's footsteps, Leo and I pretended we just came out of the elevator. Kenny paused, then excitedly said, "Stella, you're here. I knew you'd agree." Leo instinctively shielded me. Then he turned, signaling for me to start the show. I chuckled and peeked out from behind him. "I'm just here to see your mom. Don't get any ideas." Leo chimed in on cue, "Don't get your hopes up." Kenny ignored him, looking at me pleadingly. "Stella, I know I messed up, hurt you. This time, I promise to make it up to you. Just give me another chance." Leo translated sarcastically, "He doesn't want to be roasted by everyone online anymore. Thinks getting back with you will win him some points." I was about to tell him I could hear just fine, thank you. Then Leo turned back, ready with his comeback. "Do you think we're fools? You won't win anyone over with that. Go home and sleep it off. At least you won't see the comments while you sleep." I burst out laughing at that. Kenny opened his mouth, wanting to respond but couldn't find the words. Leo stepped aside slightly, looking like he was listening intently to me. Then he turned to Kenny. "My wife just said she only has one husband, and that's me. She's deeply in love with me, and guys like you have no chance." I laughed so hard I choked. That was awkward. Not my words. Kenny's face turned red. "We can have another wedding. She'll agree." Leo pretty much beamed now, having waited for this moment. He pulled 2 marriage certificates from his pocket, showing them off to Kenny. "But we didn't just have a wedding, we're legally married too." I covered my face, embarrassed. Kenny and I had planned to get married first, then get the license. He ran off, so of course, we never did. When Leo found out, he was so happy he could barely sleep. The next day, he dragged me to get our license as fast as possible. While packing, he even made sure to grab the certificates. I kinda suspected what he was up to, but thought, Leo wouldn't really pull out these certificates like some big announcement, would he? Well, he did. And he stretched it out too. Seeing Kenny utterly defeated, his mom couldn't take it anymore and pulled him away while forcing a smile. "Stella, thanks for visiting, but things are a mess now. I can't entertain you. You should go." I nodded quickly, dragging Leo away. Back from the hospital, Kenny surprisingly stayed quiet. For 2 days, anyway. From day 3, he started texting me from different numbers, apologizing and begging me to leave Leo. I blocked each number without a care. Then, out of the blue, Kenny began texting Leo. At first, he threatened Leo to divorce me or else he'd make his life miserable. Later, he outright pleaded with Leo in the texts, hoping Leo would give me up to him. Leo blocked him twice, which seemed to agitate Kenny even more. He began sending daily texts to Leo, recounting our romantic memories. Leo didn't get mad. He just snapped a picture of our wedding photo and replied, "Romantic? I think it's just alright." Kenny didn't reply after that. Watching Leo's childish antics, I couldn't help but laugh. "Why don't you just hang our marriage certificate around your neck?" I teased him. Leo gently put the marriage photo under the pillow and snuggled up to me. "I don't want to look stupid," I chuckled, unable to really mock him. Leo, admiring his style of dealing with it all, suddenly frowned. "You gave him a shirt?" I confessed, at the time, it was for our parents. It didn't mean anything special. And honestly, I've never even seen him wear it since I gave it. Leo pouted, "I want one too. This damn competitiveness." I pointed towards the closet. "You've already got clothes spilling out. You really need more?" Turning away with a huffy expression, he insisted, "I do." Patiently, I suggested, "How about I get you something else?" Leo glanced at me, slightly intrigued, but then he turned away again, being stubborn. "Nope." Seeing he was about to pull another tantrum, I just pretended to sleep. I knew he'd explain himself eventually. Sure enough, after a few seconds, Leo started complaining, "Look at you. You're so impatient with me. You don't love me at all. You gave him a gift but never gave me one. He's more important to you. He didn't finish, and I quickly cut in, I blocked him too. Every single number, even more than I did yours at the time. No sooner had I said this than Leo burst out, I only mouthed off then. He did something truly wrong to you, and yet you treat us the same. Well, Leo's tantrums were something else. Covering my face with a blanket, I giggled to myself before leaning over to plant kisses all over his face. Leo looked at me, still in shock. Before he could speak, I asked, now? Still angry? Smiling slightly, Leo's lips curled, barely Noti was just about to smooch him some more when he covered us with a blanket. Now I'm really not mad. I knew it. To avoid giving Leo more chances to manipulate the situation, I went straight to the mall the next day. I picked up 10 black shirts for Leo. And to be on the safe side, I added a bunch of couple-themed stuff. Just as I was putting all the shopping bags in the car, my phone buzzed with messages from unfamiliar numbers. I knew it was Kenny acting crazy again. Didn't even bother opening them, just deleted everything. But just as I did, one more came from Kenny. Stella, Vivian embarrassed you at the wedding, made you lose face. You must hate her, huh? How about I help you get revenge? I'll marry her, but don't worry, you'll be the real bride. I'll expose her true colors at the wedding, promise not marrying her for real. You hate me too, right? This way, it'll ruin our reputations. Is that enough to calm you down? Stella, I'll be waiting for you at the chapel. I slammed the steering wheel in frustration. How many times did Vivian try to talk him out of it, but he wouldn't listen. Now he shifts the blame to Vivian for his runaway groom act. After thinking it over, I called Leo to meet me in the parking lot. We needed to head over to the chapel. I couldn't care less about Kenny's reputation. But Vivian had once warned me kindly, giving me time to prepare and preventing me from being cluelessly left alone at the wedding. I owed her this. Leo didn't ask questions when I called. He just met up with me as quick as possible. Concerned Kenny might do something crazy, he even arranged for security around the chapel. As Kenny's messages kept coming in, I was ready to tell him to calm down. Leo snatched my phone and typed quickly, "Sure, I'll forgive you. I'm on the way now. Just don't hurt Vivian, or I'll get blamed. Let's just embarrass her." Handing my phone back, he instructed me to keep Kenny calm, pretending it was still me talking. When Leo and I arrived, Vivian stood there in a wedding dress with blank eyes, while Kenny lay flat on the ground with his phone streaming live. I quickly cut the live stream and looked over to Vivian. But she didn't seem to see me or Leo. She looked down at Kenny with disappointment. "I tried warning you so many times after learning the truth, but you wouldn't listen. Now you realize the consequences of running away from a wedding you can't handle, but you can't handle being with me either, so you want to sacrifice me to redeem your life? I never thought I'd use the self-defense skills you taught me against you." Kenny stared blankly, mumbling, "No, I just thought if Stella forgives me, everything would go back to the way it was. If you lose face, she'd be happy." It was exactly what he said to Vivian when he ran off with her. But now, the person hearing it was different. I snorted, "I don't get along with her, but she warned me to be prepared when you were about to ditch our wedding. You keep saying you want to marry me, yet you ran off in front of everyone just to humiliate me. You even suggested we broadcast the wedding live." Kenny kept repeating, "No, I'm sorry, I really know I was wrong." He tried to crawl over and tug on my skirt. "Stella, please forgive me. If you forgive me, we can get back to the way we were." Before he could reach me, Leo kicked him, sending him flying back. The next second, Vivian picked up her phone and dialed, "I'm calling the police, I've been kidnapped." Leo and I didn't get involved after that. All I heard later was that Kenny's dad got so angry when he heard Vivian had reported Kenny to the police that he passed away. Kenny's mom managed to snag control of the entire family business. To save face, she decided not to bail Kenny out. Right then, Vivian transferred all the inheritance her dad left her to Kenny's mom and applied to study abroad before leaving. She sent me a thank you message, saying I could visit her anytime. Seeing that text, I finally felt relieved. I clicked onto Leo's interview from today. In the video, a reporter asked why he agreed to my last-minute proposal, wondering if he had planned it all along. Leo nodded with a smug look. Yeah, I was planning on crashing the wedding all along. Who knew someone would step aside for me? The room burst into laughter. I was about to keep watching when I saw Leo in the black shirt I bought him walk in, grinning ear to ear. Babe, you have such great taste, it really suits me. I was stunned. Leo in a black shirt was simply irresistible. Especially since he left some buttons undone, giving a glimpse of his abs. He continued, you got me a dozen shirts. I must really mean a lot to you. I knew you love me. I stared at him, finally understanding those scenes where the domineering CEO talks to his sweet wife, but all she can think about is kissing him after savoring the moment. Leo leaned closer and asked, Babe, you gave me such a nice gift, I feel like I owe you something. Is there anything you want? Without thinking, I said, give me a kiss. Leo blinked, blushing slightly. Why are you rewarding me for getting a gift? My eyes lingered on his unbuttoned shirt, and I swallowed hard. Picking up on my gaze, Leo undid another button. Want to help? Just as I reached out, he showered me with kisses and said, I'll wear it every day from now on.